March 31st, 2012. That was the day that Bungie officially handed over the keys to Halo to Microsoft, 343 Industries, and Bonnie Ross. Now that isn't the day that Halo died or anything overly dramatic like that. It is where the story of Halo changed forever, and it was not for the best, but it wasn't for the worst either. In this video, we will recap how Halo developed after 343 took over, what went wrong in the 14 years since then, and where we can go from here if Halo Studios takes the time to save the franchise with its release of Campaign Evolved. Let's dive in. So to really start this story, I feel like I should go back to the days when Halo was being announced by Steve Jobs as a future game on Mac computers. But I'll save that for another time and fast forward to October 1st, 2007, when it was announced that Bungie would be spinning off from Microsoft, which is where 343 was born as a division of Microsoft that would be handling the ownership of the Halo IP. They worked together all the way until March 31st, 2012, when Bungie officially handed servers and data control over to 343 Industries, with Frank O'Connor moving from Bungie to 343 to help with the transition, and Bonnie Ross sitting as 343 studio lead. Plenty of media came out from the Halo IP in the interim, with most of it still being works from Bungie, most notably ODST, Reach, and the novel Contact Harvest. The first real piece of media that we see in the 343 era comes in late 2011 with the novel Halo Glasslands and Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary for the 10th anniversary of the game's original release with updated graphics, cutscenes, and terminals. Okay, so CE wasn't that much of a production, but it is a nice to have while 343 prepares for the main stage. 343 released 3 books and a miniseries to fully set the stage before it released Halo 4. This will foreshadow the direction of the entire franchise later on. 343 came in swinging with the release of Halo 4 in November 2012. It picks up where Halo 3 left off, albeit
4 years, 7 months, 10 days.
Later. We get introduced to our enemy, the Covenant, realize we are orbiting a Forerunner planet, discover Cortana is dying, get introduced to the ancient Forerunner known as the Didact, reunite with humanity in the next generation of Spartans, watch New Phoenix get absolutely wrecked, nuke the Didact, and watch Cortana die in front of us. It was different. There were complaints, but it was Halo, and it was beautiful and full of emotion. Halo 4's multiplayer tried to emulate the success of Call of Duty with some of its changes while still holding on to the Halo 3 Reach feel, and it wasn't terrible, but it certainly didn't last. That's where Halo 5 really took a shot at greatness, and to be honest, I feel like we all just ignored it. Oh yeah, microtransactions. That game really did feel like Halo 3 Reach multiplayer greatness with added Omni movement that could have been competitive with other mainline multiplayer games at the time. And even though they had microtransactions too, gosh, it just was not Halo to have that. Halo 5 came out 3 years after Halo 4 in October 2015, and in those 3 years, 343 had been busy. They released a live-action series called Halo Nightfall, 10 written media between novels and short stories, and published the Master Chief Collection on the 10-year anniversary of Halo 2, and gave Halo 2 a beautiful makeover with the help of Blur. It broke on launch, but eventually they turned it into a behemoth, and over 10 years later, I could still find a lobby in seconds. They also heavily marketed the release of Halo 5, which we'll dive into later in this video. Halo 5 came in with a solemn tone after the loss of Cortana, but we do see Chief reunited with the fabled Blue Team as they... first we see Locke from that miniseries, Nightfall, Buck from ODST, and 2 Spartans we haven't seen before start the game and kill the Covenant leader Jul 'Mdama, before we see Chief and his pals, which is still cool to see. Just less cool after having to play a mission as characters we are less invested in. Chief gets a glimpse of Cortana, goes AWOL, and tracks her down while Osiris tracks them. We fight the same boss a bunch of times as both squads, and eventually Cortana takes over the galaxy. But hey, at least Chief and Blue Team were reunited. After Halo 5, we saw 16 more written media produced, an animated series that retells the story from the original Halo book Fall of Reach, and the production of Halo Wars 2, a long-awaited sequel to the 2009 release that tells the story of the Spirit of Fire and her crew that mysteriously showed up to the Ark 20 years after the crew went into cryo. Fight with the new enemy Atriox and the Banished, a warlord and his contracted warriors of Old Covenant forces. They battle for the Ark, launch a Halo ring, and then the ring is intercepted by Cortana in a cliffhanger ending showing she still rules the galaxy. I was hyped. I was pumped for whatever Halo Infinite was going to bring to the story to add on to that. Halo Infinite released in December of 2021, 6 years after Halo 5, and instead of picking up where Halo 5 left off, they skipped the whole Cortana galaxy conquest and the Atriox fighting and went straight into guerrilla warfare on an ancient Halo ring, Zeta Halo, more ancient than the rings we are accustomed to, and hear about a lot of cool things that happened between the games and the many mysteries of the ring. Then the game ends with a bit of an apology recording from Cortana, and Chief locks in with her replacement. No more games have been released since then. But we have seen 5 more novels published since then and a short story and, oh yeah, Master Cheeks. And if you're here watching this video, then you probably know that we will soon see the newest release, Halo Campaign Evolved, in July of this year. What's the point of this? Why are we getting our 3rd release of Combat Evolved in 25 years without a Halo 3 remaster ahead of it? Well, we do have reports of the newly rebranded Halo Studios already working on a remake of Halo 2 and Halo 3 to release sometime after Campaign Evolved. Not 100% confirmed, but it seems like that's what's happening. So maybe, just maybe, they realized they did something wrong. Okay, so I don't really know how much they know they got wrong, but the fact that Bonnie Ross is over at Duolingo now and is as far away from sci-fi and gaming as possible probably tells us that some epiphanies were had. And I also want to emphasize that I am in no way upset that there is as much written media for the Halo IP as there is. Most of them are greatly written and dive into a wide universe with so much interconnected lore, and they're just fun to read. But Halo started as a video game the same way that Alien started as a movie. When it comes to handling an IP, you have to respect the form of media where everything began. And 343 began to use written media as a crutch. When Halo 4 came out, some of the initial criticism came from the lore dumps. Understanding the story really took a lot of effort at this point, in ways that didn't involve playing Halo. The use of Spartan Ops was widely appreciated for sure, but the terminals holding more utility than the regular game cutscenes was a bit of a letdown. That's before we even considered the commissioning of Greg Bear to write the 3 Halo books dubbed the Forerunner Saga to give the most boring exposition to the characters we are introduced to in Halo 4. Other criticism targeted the enemy designs. The Covenant looked vastly different compared to the older games and the Prometheans. They just sucked. They were not fun to fight, their character design was lacking, and they lacked any real meaning to the player, unlike previous foes we've encountered like the species they effectively replaced, the Flood. Other than Halo Wars 2, the Flood is gone now, and there's a lore reason for them to be gone, sure, but there's also a lore reason for them to still be present, so why not? Halo 5 is the biggest bait and switch of the century, following the relatively closed-door ending that Halo 4 had with Cortana's death alongside the, death of the Didact. Anyway, back to the bait and switch. Halo 5 was marketed hard. The series, Halo Nightfall, gave us a live-action introduction to Spartan Locke, who we meet again in other marketing, now as a Spartan 4, hunting a rogue Master Chief, and Master Chief hunting him back. We receive an epic podcast, Hunt the Truth, with journalist Ben Jarreau, voiced by Keegan-Michael Key of Key & Peele, doing a civilian story on Master Chief that was commissioned by Oni, which turns into an expose on Oni, and the story about Master Chief going AWOL breaks. Just go listen to it if you haven't. It's awesome. Until you realize that the Halo 5 that came out was anything but what we were marketed. They basically replaced Master Chief with a character we didn't ask for and an underdeveloped Fireteam Osiris. It was an odd turn for the story, Halo 5. At the end, we were entering a dystopian setting against an AI alliance with an ancient mega weapon ready to enslave the galaxy. Then we got Halo Infinite in 2020 as a launch release for the new Scratch that. They delayed it a year. Honestly, I don't know how they didn't fire her right there. Anyway. Then we got Halo Infinite in December 2021, and they skipped the dystopia. They retconned the story with the books and used them to skip the entire storyline that was developed in Halo 5. No Cortana and AI alliance that we have to fight against. No Atriox after the fantastic Halo Wars 2 setup. Sure, we got the Banished, but they were a fraction of what they were before with Atriox. They threw together some fan service and sent us an unfinished game with Halo Infinite. I did a playthrough right before this video and I had fun playing it, but I also did a playthrough of all the Halo games, and Infinite was the final one I played, and honestly, I just wanted some consistency in the story. I thought of what could have been. So where do we go now?
To war.
No. So now here we are in 2026, and we have Campaign Evolved right around the corner. And I haven't been this excited for a game since picking up my Halo Reach Legendary Edition from GameStop as a kid with my lawn mowing money. I get to experience all 3 original Halo games remade from scratch, while the team at Halo Studios masters Unreal Engine after moving on from the Slipspace engine, and we get expanded campaigns. But that's only where the excitement begins. I look at this as a chance for Halo Studios to do a hard reboot of Halo post-Bungie. Now, I know that could be a controversial thing to be thrilled about, but hear me out. 343 took Halo and did what Disney did to Star Wars. They put out a trilogy and some offshoots, and the offshoots did better than the trilogy. They also did some pretty atrocious things to the lore to justify the stories of Halo 4, 5, and Infinite. Sound familiar? Or is nobody else getting the somehow Palpatine returned vibe from Cortana just flipping sides willy-nilly? Anyway, I know the catastrophe this could be from a lore historian perspective. An EU versus new canon type reality can be tough to swallow. But I think it's worth it if it means newer, better, and more consistent new Halos in the future that releases finished games. And by finished games, we do deserve multiplayer sooner rather than later. I'll swallow the pill that Campaign Evolved will have co-op multiplayer, but not matchmaking for PvP. But it's been almost 12 years since we have had a Halo game release with a matchmaking that the community and the game studio have taken seriously, and it was a compilation of older games. The community deserves better here, and Halo Studios will need to find an answer to this part of the equation, and quickly. Halo Combat Evolved released 25 years ago, and on the eve of its remake's release, Halo Studios is still formulating what its next fully original project will be. They can pick up where 343 left off and make Halo 7. Or they can pick up where Bungie left off and make Halo 4 with a fresh start. Either way, I just can't wait to play more Halo. Hey everyone, I'm just getting this channel off the ground, and if you made it this far in the video, I really appreciate the support. If you want to see more content like this in the future, if you like and subscribe, I'll do what I can to keep you around. See you next time.